when we were deciding how we were going to split up the service, because I think each one of us could probably talk for hours about our experiences, we decided to break it into sections, and I'm going to be talking about my experiences through worship. And on the first day of Triennium, our delegation got to worship about an hour early, along with literally thousands of other kids. And we waited outside the doors, singing and dancing with all the other people. And when they finally opened the doors, all 25 of us from our delegation held hands and ran through the crowd as fast as we could to get good seats. And we got to sit in the third row on the very first night. And as everybody was settling into their seats, I looked behind me and I saw all 5,214 Presbyterian teenagers screaming in excitement to worship God. And when service actually started, they played a video and it showed the words, "I am," and you could hear a heartbeat playing. And with every heartbeat, there's a flash of a word, words like, "I am anxious, loved, worthy, a child of God," and the heartbeats got faster and so did the flashes of the word. And at that moment, I got chills with excitement, and I thought, I am so lucky to be able to have this experience and to share it with all these people. One of the nights of Triennium, we had worship outside at an amphitheater on a giant hill. And the sermon talked about a man who lived in San Francisco, and he would be walking around and he would see the name Nico carved into the pavement or a tree or something like that. And he continued to see this multiple times. He would say Nico or "I am Nico." And he wanted to know who Nico was and what his story was and why he had written his name so many places. And when he finally found Nico, he asked him why. And Nico explained to him that he thought that if he wrote his name in enough places to leave his mark in the world, at least one or two would be left in 100 years. And I thought that was pretty amazing to be able to do something so small and make an impact on one person's life. And the next day, I was walking by myself, reflecting on the night before, was going to small groups, and I looked down and I saw Nico written in chalk on the sidewalk. And I kept walking, and then I looked down again and I saw "I am Nico." And I thought it was amazing that that story touched me so much, and it obviously touched somebody else. It was probably one of the best sermons I've ever heard, besides Pastor Terry's, of course. And that night, we also heard the story of how Jesus fed the 5,000 with the loaf and the fish. And then after we heard that story, we all 5,000 of us, shared communion together. And it was incredible to be able to hear that story that we've heard so many times and then experience sharing a meal with 5,000 people. Also that night, our delegation got extremely close through the candlelight ceremony. And as the candles were being lit, I wanted to believe that all 5,000 candles were lit by one match, even though I know they probably weren't. But everybody would go up to a stranger that they'd never talked to, never met before, and share their light with them. And I thought it was amazing how everybody there felt so comfortable with themselves and with everybody around them to go up to somebody that they never met and share something with them. And once all the candles were lit, we were singing, and our whole delegation linked arms and swayed together, and we really became a family that night. And it was probably my favorite night of Triennium. And the next day during worship, we sat on the very top third balcony, and we could see everybody. And as I was sitting there, I kind of thought, wow, there are 3 people from our church that went, and there are about 10 others that could have gone. And I know a ton of other kids from Montlour that didn't have the opportunity to go. And it's crazy to think that everybody from Triennium had other friends who weren't able to go. And that there are so many Presbyterian teenagers just like me who have the same beliefs as me out there in the world and that I'm not alone. So Triennium was just such an amazing time. We learned so much from our small groups, which you'll hear a little bit more about later, and through worship, and we learned a lot about other people and how our faith is connected. But while we were there, we also learned a lot about ourselves. So before we went to Triennium, I had written a list of goals for myself, and a lot of them were based around getting connected with Presbyterians my age. But one goal that was very important to me was getting grounded in my faith before I went off to college. Faith is a very personal thing, and I was hoping to grow at least a little. I definitely got more than I expected. The theme of Triennium this year was I Am. And this hit home for me because I was getting ready to move off into the real world, and I was trying to figure out who I was. I was feeling very small in a very big world, and Triennium came to my rescue. We watched a documentary titled I Am, and there was a quote about water. And I'm not going to get it exactly word for word, but it was something like, a drop of water isn't much, but the ocean is really just a bunch of drops of water that got together. And I really loved that, and it was just one of the instances where I felt like I have a purpose in Christ. We are drops of water, and if we really put our minds to it, we can come together with other people to form an ocean. Triennium was full of inspiring things like that. Having 5,000 other people my age helped me connect to myself, and that we all have similar ideals and we understand each other. It made me realize that I want to be able to have that everywhere I go. I had the privilege of serving communion alongside Sophia Heron, and being able to experience that with so many people was incredible. Here all of us were, sitting on a gigantic hill in the middle of Indiana's humid summertime, and all of us wanted to be there. All of us knew that these are the moments that count. Everyone there was a family, and I'm so thankful that I got a chance to serve my brothers and sisters in communion. But we were a family everywhere, not just that night. People were always so friendly, and I kept wondering, why isn't it like that in the real world? That question never left my mind through the whole week. Why aren't people as accepting and loving at home as they are here? Well, I decided that it was because at Triennium we all knew we had a God who was bigger than our problems. I want my life to be about letting people know that there's a God that cares so much, and there's a family that is always open to you if you decide that's what you want. To have this little revelation may not seem like much. Of course we all want to help people find Christ. But to me, it set my course and purpose. I am already planning for the future. It is so easy to get caught up in what's going on in your immediate life. For me, the distractions are all about being in a new place with new people. It's so easy to panic over college or moving or getting a new job, but Triennium was a reminder to me that if you take a step back from your life and you remember why you're living it, things get a whole lot less scary. I met up with Bill Sleece for lunch on Friday at ASU, and we decided that once a week we could meet up and talk about the Bible. And that's really special to me, and I don't know if I would have made that decision if I hadn't gone to Presbyterian Youth Triennium this year. It was a life-changing experience, and I am so thankful for it. PYT got everyone so excited about their faith. The very first church service we had, like Maddie said, we were all sitting in the music hall when I Am appeared on the screen. And the heartbeat was playing over the sound system, and it kept getting faster with, I am excited, I am ready, I am anxious, waiting, hopeful. I am a child of God. And the intensity of it was indescribable. It was just so easy to know that in that moment, I was a child of God. And I am, wherever I go, no matter what I do. We are united through Christ. Some of the youth from our church are familiar with something called a Mahluer High. When we go up to camp, we have a sense of belonging and connectedness to our faith that usually lasts through the week and maybe a few days after. It can be called a mountaintop experience or a moment of connectedness, but whatever you call it, that feeling hasn't gone away since Triennium. Lots of times the world around us can sweep us back in and distract us from what is the most important. Triennium has taught me to live my life and know why I'm living it. I'm allowed to go out and meet friends and take classes and be excited about life, but I know that it is dedicated to God. I think all three of us gained so much from our week at Purdue, and the most valuable thing, to me at least, is that I am a child of God. We all are, no matter what we do or where we go. I am because we are. And if all of us drops of water come together, who knows what kind of ocean we can form.
Hi, I'm Molly.
Before I start my little spiel, I want to share with you commonly asked questions that us Arizonans got. Things like, so if you're from the Grand Canyon Presbyterian,
do you live in the Grand Canyon? I said, yeah, we do actually. They were like, if you're from Arizona, why are you so pale? And I said I don't go outside every day. And we got, do you own a jacket? Does it get cold in Arizona? And I was like, sometimes, yeah. And they're like, are there literally cactuses everywhere? And I was like, not everywhere, but there's one in my front yard. And no one believed me until I sent them like a million pictures. And I was like, look, a cactus. And I'm like, cool. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about all the connections we made at Triennium. So the Grand Canyon Presbyterian delegation decided to go up a day early, which I'm so incredibly thankful for. We first really bonded at the airport in Indianapolis. We were waiting for our bus to take us to Purdue, and we all got food from different restaurants and ate together on the floor because there was nowhere that would fit all of us. And I mean, when you're sitting on the floor together eating airport food wearing the same shirts, what else is there to do except bond? And then when we got to the dorms, Jamie, Maddie, and our friend from Mission Del Sol, and I convinced everyone to play the Skittle game, which for those of you who don't know, you get a giant bag of Skittles, and you sit in a circle and you pass it around. And if you take 2 Skittles out, and if they're different colors, you have to put them in your mouth. And you can't chew them, you can't swallow them, you can't suck on them, you just have to make them sit there. And if you get 2 of the same colored Skittles, you have to try to chew and swallow all the Skittles before the bag comes back around to you, which is insanely hard. So you end up with a big clump of Skittles in your mouth and the enamel leaving your teeth, and you can't taste anything for the rest of the day, and your tongue is a lovely brown color. So that was fun. And we played hide and seek because we were the only ones in the dorm. And that night the girls from our delegation all had a little party in Jamie's room, and we decided that we're all a bunch of freaks. And we stayed up way later than we should have and talked, and I would not hesitate to call any of those girls my best friend. And as a delegation, we tried to eat every meal together because food brings people together, and it's been that way since the beginning of time. And like Maddie said, we worship together, like we all sat together and worship. And every time we tried to get good seats, we would all book it down the aisles, and there'd be people like standing in the middle, like, don't run! We're like, good joke. So I feel bad, we never really listened to them. And I spent my 18th birthday at Triennium, and it was so great. I was sung to 6 times. 6 times. And I was forced to wear a tiara. And whenever I saw someone from my delegation and I was not wearing my tiara, they would yell at me. And they threw me a birthday party, complete with party hats and personalized brownies, because I don't like cake. And these little plastic lips that when you blow through, it makes a really annoying noise, but that was fun. And they also signed a gigantic card for me, which I know I'll keep forever as a reminder what an awesome family I have. And there were about 200 small, there were 200 small groups at Triennium, and I didn't exactly do the math, but some of them had like 30 people in it, some had like 12, mine had 17, so you kind of get the randomness of it. But my small group didn't get along too well, and we were all very outspoken and not at all afraid to share our opinions, and arguments would break out when we were discussing scriptures or worship or whatever, and let's just say we weren't all very Christian about however we went about sharing our thoughts. Then we participated in the Stop Hunger Now event, and it changed everything. We had to package meals of rice, beans, dried fruit, and vitamin packs to send to people who don't have enough food. To do this, we had to wear hairnets. And I think we started to get closer as a small group when we had to help each other put our hairnets on because no one could do it by themselves. And it really is that hard. And there were about 30 or 40 other small groups in this giant room with no air conditioning, working an assembly line, one per small group. And as a total, the Triennium participants of 2013 packaged 142,560 meals, each capable of feeding 6 people. So that comes to 855,360 people worldwide that would go one less day hungry. We had to work together and cooperate regardless of the fact that 20 minutes before we were screaming at each other. For the rest of the week, it was like we were a completely different group. We agreed to disagree, listened to what everyone else had to say, and accepted each other's opinions. I still talk to about half of my my small group, and I miss them all dearly. I was the odd girl out in our delegation, so I didn't have a roommate that I knew. My roommate lives in Georgia. Her name is Abigail, and she's the cutest Southern belle I've ever met. She just turned 16, and she's the oldest of 3 girls and has always wanted a big sister. After 5 nights of late-night heart-to-heart talk, she decided that I fit that role. I was lucky enough to camp at Montlure 4 times with Emily and spend 3 years of student council with her. We've always been close because of our age and mutual friends, and I would not have our relationship any other way. Triennium has brought Maddie and I closer in so many amazing ways. We were very close before the trip, but now, having shared a Jesus week with her, like I have so many times with Emily, we're closer than ever. All the delegations from however many presbyteries that were at Triennium made pins that represented their presbytery. A tradition of Triennium is to trade pins with pretty much everyone you talk to. And I brought all of mine in there in the narthex, along with other Purdue and Triennium apparel, if you want to look at them. And I plan on keeping all of them forever so I can remember all the amazing times I had at Triennium. You could literally walk up to everyone, or anyone, and talk to them for 10 minutes. It was so refreshing. Everyone was so different, coming from different places, being of different ages. We all had so much in common at the same time. We all wanted to be there. We were all excited to be there. We're all children of God, and we all live in a world where most people don't know what Presbyterianism is or how to spell it. I can't tell you how many times I would look around at worship, at meals, during rec events or games, or just walking to and from places because we literally walk 15 miles a day in 100% humidity and get chills because it just felt so amazing to be a part of something that big, that inspiring, and that life-changing. Thank you.
The doors of the sanctuary open early enough each Sunday that you don't have to race down to get the front seats in the sanctuary. So this will set a good example for us. No running to the front Sunday by Sunday, but your seats will be there for you. I'm sure that I can speak for these young ladies since expressing their thanks for the support that you as a congregation have given to them that made it possible for them to attend Triennium, and you can see what a difference that has made in their lives. And we know that in 3 years, when Triennium rolls around again, that there'll be others that you'll be able to support and that their lives will be changed in just such a way. So what an opportunity they've had and what a privilege it is to have them share that with us.